Today is October 2nd, 10-2. These notes are on organelles part 1. We're going to be doing notes a little bit differently today. Instead of me typing and you writing, we are going to fill in this table instead. And then when you are done, you're going to cut out the table and put it into your notes for today. If you notice, I'm not typing anything today, and that is because you should be listening and filling in your table as you go. If you are paying attention and both listening and watching, you will have no problem doing that. We're going to do organelles in 2 parts because there are a lot of organelles, and if we try to do them all in one day, it takes forever and it gets kind of messy. So we're going to do half of them today and then half of them with the next notes. An organelle is a part of the cell with a specific job. Cells have a lot of things they have to do, and it becomes easier and more efficient if you have different parts doing different jobs. Kind of like if you were doing a project with somebody, it would go a lot easier and faster if you had different people doing different jobs. That's kind of the same concept with organelles. Everything has a different job. Remember that only eukaryotic cells have organelles. Your eukaryotic cells are your plants, animals, fungi, and protozoans. So you have eukaryotic cells. A bacteria does not. All of the stuff we are talking about today applies to you and to plants and fungi and your protozoans, but it does not apply to prokaryotic cells or bacteria. Our first organelle for today is the one that everybody already knows, I'm sure, the nucleus. The nucleus has the extremely important job of giving the DNA somewhere to live. Normally in pictures, the nucleus looks like a big purple circle, or maybe blue. Inside of that nucleus, you have all of your DNA plus some other things. But that nucleus is the special place where the DNA can be safe and protected. Around the outside of the nucleus, you have something called the nuclear envelope. It's just a special membrane around the nucleus. It's a special name for it. Inside of the nucleus, there's a dark area. That's called the nucleolus. And the nucleolus is where ribosomes are made. Ribosomes! Ribosomes, they have the important job of creating proteins. Remember when we studied proteins, we said that they were really important because they do so many different things for your body, for all living things. So that would mean that ribosomes are pretty important too, because they create the proteins, and then the proteins can go off and do all the jobs. Ribosomes can be found in 2 places. See these bumps? These are ribosomes. They can, one place, be found on the endoplasmic reticulum, or they can be found floating around in the cell. Either way, they have the same job. They still create proteins. They're just found in different locations. Up next, here's the long fun word of the day. Endoplasmic reticulum. You should write down this word at least once, just so that you can appreciate it. But when you are doing papers later, if you just write ER, I will understand what you mean. Everybody just abbreviates it as ER. The endoplasmic reticulum is a series of membranes very similar to the cell membrane, but their job is to act as the manufacturing and transportation facilities. They're like the factory for the cell. You have 2 kinds of ER, rough and smooth. Those are probably the least complicated names of today. The rough ER is called rough because it looks rough. The smooth ER is called smooth because it looks smooth. Here's some more information on them. The rough ER has bumps on it. It looks like it would feel rough. Those bumps are ribosomes. The same ribosomes we just saw here when they were on the endoplasmic reticulum. That's what we're talking about for the rough ER. And the rough ER, it has the job of, after the ribosomes make these proteins, it works on sending them wherever they need to go. The smooth ER looks like it is smooth. It does not have bumps. And smooth ER has many jobs depending on which cell it's in. So for example, the endoplasmic reticulum in your liver cells, they have the job of breaking down toxins for your body. Up next is the Golgi apparatus, or the Golgi body. Both names mean the same thing, it just depends on which book or which resource you're looking in, but if it says Golgi something, they're talking about the same thing. The Golgi is this right here. It looks very similar to the ER, but it's way over here. It's not by the nucleus. The Golgi has the job of sending things out of the cell. The Golgi is like the post office for the cell. If you were to take a letter to the post office, it would send out that letter. That's kind of what the Golgi does. It takes whatever the cell needs to send and sends it, packages it up and sends it. Here we have these little circle things. These are called vesicles. The Golgi takes the things, packs them up into vesicles, and then sends them out. The secret word for today is endoplasmic reticulum. Please underline that word on your table. You'll get extra points for it on Monday because I will check your notes. Don't tell the people who aren't paying attention. Let them figure it out on their own. Our last organelle for today, remember that we have more coming later, this is just the last one for today, are your vacuoles. Vacuoles are like the bags for the cell. They store things. They're membrane-bound sacs. And vacuoles might have different jobs depending on what kind of vacuole you're talking about. For example, here's a plant cell. I know it's a plant cell because it has these big thick cell walls. That means it's a plant cell. Plus it has these green thingies. When plants are green, that's how I know it's a plant. But also, we have this thing here that kind of looks like a big water balloon. That is called a central vacuole. Plants have a kind of a unique problem because plants cannot go find water if they're thirsty. They have to keep all of the water inside of themselves. And that's the job of the central vacuole. It holds water for the plant. So that if the plant gets in a situation where it doesn't have enough water, then it can just use the water in its central vacuoles. That's also why if you see a plant that looks like it's wilted, you should give it water. Because if the central vacuole runs out of water, it's kind of like if a balloon deflates. The whole plant kind of slumps over because all its central vacuoles are empty. But if you give the plant more water, it'll fill it back up, and the plant will stand back up and look like a happy plant. Another example of a vacuole is the contractile vacuole. They're these right here. This whole thing here is called a paramecium. It is a single-celled animal-like organism. It's only made of one cell, but it still hunts, and it actually moves really fast if you can look at it under the microscope. Paramecium are actually really hard to see under a microscope because they never stop moving. They're always running around. They're like little cheetahs. But little single-celled things like this, they live in water, and they have the problem that they don't want to have too much water or else they'll explode. So they have to have some special structures to help them to get rid of that extra water. The contractile vacuoles, they fill up with water and then they contract and push all the water out. That way this little thing doesn't explode. That wouldn't be very good. Make sure you have all parts of your table filled in. This is it for today. We will finish organelles with our next notes. Make sure you cut this out and stick it into that page for today. If you need an example, I have one in the example notebook that you can look at.